Milosevic with more military attacks and stronger language as he tries to keep the pressure on and rally the American people. He said the 13-day-old campaign against Milosevic would persist until, quote, we prevail. Then he announced additional relief for the refugees. We have two reports, beginning with NBC's Martin Fletcher with the refugees in Macedonia.
The most basic human necessities, water, food and freedom. 60,000 refugees in this teeming no-man's land are desperate for them. Crushing to get through this makeshift gate, a 6-foot-wide way out of here and into Macedonia. The Red Cross says 30 have died here. They are the youngest and the oldest, the most vulnerable to exposure, fatigue and disease. To slow the deaths, the sickest are now pulled from the masses, often so weak they cannot get out on their own.
You can't get them out fast enough.
Chris Thomas works for the American Red Cross. He came to survey the situation, assess how much is needed, and immediately realized how huge this problem is.
People are begging me to help them out, and I can't. I don't have the power.
Reuniting family members lost in the crush of the crowds.
Bobby!
Everybody is asking for help. Everybody's lost somebody in the massive crowd down there. It's just a sea of misery. And on the other side of the border, there's another 50,000 refugees trying to get here.
In the camp's only medical clinic...
And drink, eh? Drink! He's exhausted completely.
Part of the chaos, there's a shortage of medical supplies. Doctors don't even have IV lines to help people who are dehydrated.
We still need a lot. It's still bad organized. So we still have to get things going.
Pneumonia and measles are spreading, and dysentery. There's still no sanitation. For those who simply can't take it any longer, they try to escape. This man made a run for it with his children. The Macedonian police stopped them. So far, about 4,000 have been moved out and into NATO transit camps. But all the refugees are filled with uncertainty. They have nothing, and they have no idea where they will go next. Martin Fletcher, NBC News, on the Kosovo-Macedonia border.
This is Robert Hager at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, scene of a massive U.S. airlift of food to the Balkans. This 747 off late this afternoon, one of a lifeline of flights that began this weekend and will continue for days, bearing more than 1 million pounds of ready-to-eat rations.
Each individual packet is designed to fulfill the nutritional needs of one person for one day and to cut across religious and cultural lines. So, for instance, there's no meat in any of these. In this case, the entrees are vegetables in rice and peas in sauce, designed to be rich in protein and vitamin A and vitamin E, and it has 2,200 calories in all.
Meant as a stopgap, says the U.S. officer in charge of the supplies.
It's designed to try to stabilize the individual system until they can reach a more permanent kitchen or refugee camp where there's hot meals to be eaten.
For instance, in Germany, which has now agreed to harbor 40,000 refugees temporarily, the U.S., 20,000, probably at the Navy base at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Turkey, 20,000, Norway, 6,000, and Canada, Greece, and Austria, 5,000 each. These refugees heading for Norway today. 500 others have reached Turkey now. Private charities also gearing up, feed the children in Oklahoma, collecting food, clothing gathered in Massachusetts. But relief officials say it's cash they really need from individuals and charities.
Always, if we can do it at all, we try to get our supplies locally. There are stocks in the region, if not in the two countries of asylum, at least nearby, that we can bring in. So it's best to give them the money in order to buy those things, to transport those things.
Eventual goal to resettle refugees back in Kosovo. But for now, it's more basic. A race against hunger, disease, and exposure. A race to prevent further catastrophe. Robert Hager, NBC News, Dover, Delaware.
And at the White House tonight, President Clinton said Americans wishing to send money to help the relief efforts in Kosovo should call this number, 1-800-USA-AID-RELIEF. That is 1-800-US-AID-RELIEF. 11 figures, but it does work. Now, to the war. With clear skies over Yugoslavia and the addition of one of America's most deadly helicopters, the military campaign against Milosevic is expanding tonight. NBC Jim Miklashevsky joins us now from the Pentagon. Jim, what's the latest there?
Well, Tom, tonight NATO airstrikes are hitting what appears to be an oil refinery at Novi Sad, north of Belgrade. But on this, day 13 of NATO bombings, there's still no sign the Serbs are backing down. so NATO will start to wield a bigger stick. The aircraft carrier Theodore Roosevelt arrives today in the Adriatic, ready to join in airstrikes by tomorrow. And from the Roosevelt room at the White House, President Clinton warns the air war against Yugoslavia is just getting started.
If Mr. Milosevic does not do what is necessary, NATO will continue an air campaign. It will be undiminished, unceasing, and unrelenting.
With clear skies, NATO warplanes and cruise missiles are now hitting targets in the heart of Belgrade almost at will. Military headquarters and barracks, fuel depots and ammo dumps. And in the closest thing to a ground war yet, NATO orders 24 U.S. Army Apache helicopters into neighboring Albania, along with 18 artillery launchers, armed with missiles that can reach Serb troops anywhere inside Kosovo. But the new weapons won't get to the war zone for 2 weeks. That could be too late. The latest intelligence reports indicate Serb forces will finish driving most of the 1.8 million ethnic Albanians out of Kosovo within 5 days. But today, the Clinton administration issued still one more warning.
Milosevic may think he's finished. We will not be finished.
And a pledge that airstrikes will go on until the Kosovo refugees can safely return home. But the air war is also entering a more dangerous phase for American pilots. U.S. military officials tell NBC News they'll be stepping up their attacks against Serb tanks and artillery. They'll fly lower and slower, increasing the risk to those pilots. Tom?
Thanks very much, Jim Miklaszewski, tonight at the Pentagon. And when we come back, NBC News in depth, the woman driving the U.S. strategy in Kosovo, a candid conversation with Secretary of State Madeleine Albright. It seems to a lot of people, both expert and lay people, as they look in on it, that Milosevic is winning this campaign. And American Apache helicopters, a new lethal weapon in the crisis in Kosovo. But what is the risk to American troops?
I'm going to try and leave work early today.
Number 22 is leaving early.
The new 160 horsepower Civic SI Coupe from Honda. What about now?
The party's in there, so why am I out here? Gas. Again.
Maximum strength Phazime has 33% more medicine doctors recommend.
One little pill, and I'm back.
Serious medicine for serious gas. Phazime.
There are actually 6 little words every woman loves to hear. The JCPenney $1 Million Jewelry Sale. Save 20 to 60% on fine jewelry, plus an extra 10% off already low sale prices. It's only twice a year, so hurry, or you'll never hear the end of it.
NBC News in depth tonight, the military and the political questions that so many people are asking. Tonight, answers from Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, one of the chief architects of the American policy. Ironically, Albright and her family found sanctuary in Belgrade during World War II, when their Czech homeland was in peril. Today, I asked the Secretary what happens if Milosevic still is hanging on in 2 weeks or so.
I'm not going to put a time limit on this, and I think that it is wrong to measure this in days or in hours here. We are far in for an intensive campaign that is working.
You continue to say that it is working. It seems to a lot of people, both expert and lay people, as they look in on it, that Milosevic is winning this campaign.
I think that clearly he has a lot of support among his people because do you know that they have no idea what is going on? There is nothing on Serb television that would indicate that there's any ethnic violence, slaughter going on. So I think it's very hard to say the kind of support he has. Clearly, this has whipped up nationalist support.
Do you think that the American people understand that in the best case scenario, we now have a very long and what could prove to be politically and financially expensive commitment to Kosovo?
I think that the American people actually understand, because the president has said so many times, the necessity for patience and determination.
At the end of all of this, however it turns out, if the Albanian ethnic group that has been living in Kosovo, comes to the United States and says, now we must have our independence. We cannot possibly live with Belgrade. Are we prepared to be the guarantors of that?
I think, Tom, there are other ways to make sure that the Kosovar Albanians have the possibility to live with an autonomous, high degree of self-government. So I do not think that independence is the only answer. There are other ways for the Kosovar Albanian people to fulfill their dreams.
Are you going to recommend to the president that he use the Apache helicopters that are going into the theater for combat purposes?
We have, the advisors as a whole have made that recommendation to enhance the air campaign.
But the Apaches require lots of people on the ground as well, not only in support, but in logistical capacities. Aren't we kind of creeping our way toward the infusion of ground troops into that area?
Well, they do require support, but it is for an air campaign. And as we have all said many times, there are no intentions or plans for ground forces. A massive ground force or an invading force is not what anybody has in mind.
Secretary of State Madeleine Albright tonight. Now to the battlefront, taking aim at the killing fields in Kosovo. The Apache helicopters heading for Kosovo are formidable weapons, of course. 2 battalions of Apaches deployed as a task force called Hawk will try to stop Serbian troops in their tracks and end the ethnic cleansing of Kosovo. What makes the Apache the weapon of choice for this dangerous mission? We continue tonight's in-depth reporting with NBC's Roger O'Neill.
It's a $14 million flying arsenal of tank-killing Hellfire missiles, rockets, even a cannon.
3, 2, 1, fire.
NATO hopes the Apache gives Allied forces a new, big advantage on the Kosovo battlefield. Lieutenant Colonel Shannon Davis commands the 4th Aviation Squadron of 16 Apaches.
These are very lethal systems. They can be used in a wide variety of targets. Just about any type of armor out there now we can defeat with a Hellfire missile.
Over the mountains of Colorado today, 5 Apaches from the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment fly a simulated hasty attack. In real combat, 1 Apache looks down on the battlefield. Pinpoint radar plots enemy positions and distances. Then, almost like a game of hide and seek, relays information to other helicopters that fire missiles without the enemy ever knowing where the attack comes from. The Apache can attack even when the weather is bad. It flies low, treetop heights, but the trade-off, a slow attack speed, often only 60 miles an hour, making it vulnerable to even rifle fire on the ground.
Reset, please.
The helicopter flew its first combat missions in Panama, but fired its first shots against an enemy in Iraq. Chief Warrant Officer Bruce Carson flew 12 hair-raising missions in Operation Desert Storm.
The prospects of what may be there and what may not be there, gives you the adrenaline rush, and that goes all the way through till you land.
There's a barrage of information pilots have to decipher when they're flying the Apache. All of it contained in this helmet display unit. All of his flight information, all of his weapons data. 20 to 25 pieces of information in a 1-inch by 1-inch square right in front of his right eye. In addition to that, there's a camera in the front of the aircraft, controlled by the helmet. So when he turns left, the camera turns left. If he turns right, the camera turns right, so that the pilot always sees the battlefield in front of him. The Army says despite its vulnerability, the Apache brings close-in, precise firepower and close-up, eyes on the battlefield intelligence, where so far the enemy has held the advantage. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Fort Carson, Colorado.
When we come back, justice delayed 10 years after the bombing of Pan Am 103. 2 Libyans finally in custody tonight, ready to stand trial.
I know a place.
Americans love scenery. We can't get enough of it. We don't care how far it is. We want to see it all. Good thing there's Chevy Malibu, a car designed to take us anywhere and back. It'll actually go up to 100,000 miles before its first scheduled tune-up. That's a lot of vacations and a lot of souvenirs. So take the long way home. It's the car you knew America could build. Malibu, genuine Chevrolet.
I'll take you there.
You didn't save me any?
There wasn't enough.
Quaker Toasted Oatmeal Squares. You haven't wanted a cereal this badly since you were a kid.
Sign here? Sorry, I only have a minute.
In so many ways, in so many places, it keeps 1 million disasters a day from happening. It's like having a life insurance policy you never knew you had.
Gotta go.
It's plastics.
There's my good girl.
Plastics make it possible.
Enterprise, rent a car for my trip? Looks expensive.
It's not expensive, Mom.
They pick us up? Sounds expensive.
Pickup's free, Mom.
Well, if it's not expensive, why didn't I get a convertible?
Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
Used to be. If I want something done right, I called me. It worked. Until I tried to quit smoking. I needed more than me. I got Nicorette. Nicorette helped me 2 ways. I used it on a regular schedule to help prevent my cravings, and for unexpected cravings, I was ready with an extra piece. I used to be a slave to cigarettes. Nicorette helped me hang on, helped me win. Now that I'm nicotine-free, I gotta tell you, it feels good to win.
Now, Nicorette is available in mint. What a refreshing choice. You can do it. Nicorette can help.
Tomorrow, Forever Young focuses on investing for seniors. It's never too late to start saving for your retirement. Find out how to play Financial Catch-Up tomorrow on Today.
After years of defiance, tonight Libya's Muammar Gaddafi has handed over the 2 men accused of blowing up Pan Am Flight 103, killing all 270 people on board over Lockerbie, Scotland. NBC's Andrea Mitchell has more.
The 2 Libyan suspects, one the U.S. says a top Libyan intelligence officer, finally in British custody today to stand trial.
Finally, we have an opportunity to see justice done.
The arrangements negotiated by South Africa's Nelson Mandela, the suspects will be tried in a neutral country, the Netherlands, but by a Scottish court. As a result, the United Nations today suspended economic sanctions against Libya, permitting international flights, weapons sales, the sale of some oil equipment. But as Secretary of State Albright told Tom Brokaw today, separate U.S. sanctions will not be lifted, not until Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi abandons terrorism.
He has to show, this is Gaddafi, that he is cooperating in terms of dealing with the terrorist threat generally, and also arrange for compensation to the victims' families.
But NBC News has learned prosecutors have a star witness who they hope will testify it was Gaddafi who personally ordered the bombing. But they concede it is unlikely he will ever be punished. And after more than a decade, Jack and Kathleen Flynn, whose son J.P. was 21 when he died in the crash, fear the trial will be a sham.
It cannot be an international political circus. It cannot be about the redemption of Muammar Gaddafi. It's got to be about the murder of my son.
Other victims' families say it's the best deal they could get, although not much comfort after the worst act of air terrorism in history. Andrea Mitchell, NBC News, Washington.
And in Wyoming tonight, 2 consecutive life sentences for one of the men charged in the beating death of Matthew Shepard, a gay college student. Russell Henderson pled guilty to murder and kidnapping charges today in order to avoid the death penalty. His alleged accomplice, Aaron McKinney, will go on trial in August. He could also face the death penalty. On Wall Street today, the market soared to another record high as fears eased about inflation and corporate earnings. The Dow up 174 points, closing over 10,000 for the second time ever. The Nasdaq up 66 points today to close at its all-time high as well. When we come back, Lifeline, a breakthrough treatment for women at high risk of breast cancer.
The biggest advantage of going with this relationship of an investment advisor is saving time. We're just at a point in our life where this work takes time.
We have things that we want to be doing other than studying different stocks. We like to travel.
Do volunteer work.
We have a grandchild now.
We feel that his objective and our objective are the same. We appreciate having him in our life.
He knows what our retirement objectives are. He knows what we need financially, and it's nice to put it in his hands.
When arthritis pain hurts, you want relief fast. But some pills can cause stomach irritation. Rubs can have odor. Aspercream's different. Rubbing an Aspercream relieves minor arthritis pain. No stomach irritation, no odor. Aspercream. Pain relief without aspirin.
Eileen, your idea to buy supplies at Staples saved us a lot of money. Here's a token of my appreciation.
Thanks. Hey, I think Arlene just got a bonus for her Staples idea.
I hear they're throwing a lot of money at Arlene.
Word is, someone has offered Arlene a lot of money.
Eileen, I don't want to lose you. What do you say to a big fat raise and an extra week's vacation?
I'm not leaving.
Terrific.
Ooh, good.
Get 15-pack pens, 74 cents. Want guaranteed low prices? Staples. Yeah, we get that.
While some folks couldn't sleep, you were peacefully sleeping thanks to new Simply Sleep from the makers of Tylenol PM. It's non-habit forming and eases you into a restful night's sleep. New Simply Sleep.
Some nations are born. This one was built. Built by heroes who for 97 years have driven trucks with the strength to match their own. The GMC Yukon continues this tradition. An SUV that combines comfort with the power to do more than expected. So to the heroes out there, we make this promise. You keep building this land, we'll supply the trucks. The Yukon by GMC.
Welcome to the millennium, a time for reflection, a time for reevaluation, a checkpoint on an endless journey, a chance to understand how the choices we make today will shape the future. Northwest News Channel 8, the new millennium.
Lifeline tonight, the powerful drug tamoxifen. It's proven to be a real lifesaver for women who develop breast cancer, and now there's a controversial new use, a way for women at high risk actually to prevent breast cancer. More from NBC's Robert Bazell tonight with what women need to know.
Karen Reck's mother had breast cancer, and her sister died of it. So there is a good chance it will strike her, too.
I hope it doesn't, but I have a feeling it will.
So Karen plans to take tamoxifen, newly approved by the FDA to reduce breast cancer risk by as much as 50%. The government estimates that up to 29 million women could use the drug.
It's clearly a huge first step toward eradicating breast cancer.
Many women now wonder if they, too, should take tamoxifen, in part because of a national advertising campaign from the manufacturer.
Many women at risk for breast cancer don't know it.
To measure your risk, doctors use a computer program that asks a series of simple questions, including your age, number of close relatives with breast cancer, and when, if ever, you had your first child. But once you know your risk, it's not a simple choice, because tamoxifen itself has side effects, including an increased risk of uterine cancer and blood clots.
This pill is dangerous. It's not like other methods of prevention that we're used to.
For women like Karen Reck, the dangers of tamoxifen are far outweighed by her fear of breast cancer. For millions of other women, it will be a personal decision about a controversial drug that could mark major progress in the war on breast cancer. Robert Bazell, NBC News, New York.
When we come back, the children of war trying to offer hope for young lives shattered by the crisis in Kosovo.
I told my architect we wanted a place that reflects the direction our business is heading. Could she design a space where ideas can't help but collide, where the techie and the dreamer both feel at home, and work is what you escape to, not from. Bottom line, we consider this place our secret weapon.
When you want an architect to build on your vision, call a member of the American Institute of Architects, AIA Architects, building on your vision.
What did Peter Gabriel say you should do to the monkey in his 1982 hit?
He said you should spank it.
Joan Baez, Roseanne, Debbie Reynolds, and Thomas Gibson on Hollywood Squares, nominated for 5 Daytime Emmys.
Tonight at 7:30 on News Channel 8.
The best way to stop suffering from allergies is never to start. This is Nasal Crom. You heard right. Nasal Crom. It's allergy prevention. Nasal Crom doesn't just relieve allergies. It flat out prevents them, preventing the natural defenses in your nose from going haywire. So you can live like a person with no allergies. Nasal Crom's like nothing else. No drowsiness, no jitters, no dependency. Nasal Crom. The best way to stop suffering is never to start.
A neglected septic system is like a time bomb under your house. Diffuse it with maintenance and advanced formula Rid-X septic treatment. It digests grease and paper and helps keep your system trouble-free. Diffuse that time bomb. Use Rid-X every month.
The most technologically marvelous ride experience since Dodge Intrepid opens soon. islands of adventure in Orlando, Florida. And the new Dodge. We're crazy about rides.
Where do you go to understand a story this big? Wherever it takes. NBC News and MSNBC, when you really want to know.
Wars are the failures of grown-ups to settle their differences by other means, and children are the most innocent victims. Imagine if you are a child in Kosovo. Your life is a nightmare of explosions, death, deprivation, separation, and confusion. NBC's Kevin Tibbles tonight.
The pain is there in the faces of the children. Tired and frightened here in Albania, hundreds are housed in this abandoned army barracks outside of Tirana, the capital city. So many, camp officials haven't even been able to count them all yet. Lumi is 10 years old. She has no idea where her parents are. She fears they are dead.
There are a lot of children have seen their father or their parents murdered, yeah.
Irene Bujari is an Albanian pediatrician who's trying to help the children cope with what they have seen and with what they have lost. She says many of the children are still so traumatized, so fearful, they've stopped speaking.
Perhaps they don't know their names, or perhaps they are afraid to tell their names. They begin to cry.
Irene and her team seek out the children who seem especially withdrawn, carefully coaxing out their stories, trying to rebuild the pieces of their lives.
How do you teach a child how to be a child again? Teach them how to laugh, not to be afraid, build friendships, when everything in their young lives has descended into horror.
But they find the best way to break through to the children is simply to play with them, to let the children know it's safe to laugh again.
Kids can be more open, can be more frank with you if you give them a ball.
But children like 7-year-old Giatona, who have lost both mother and father, children who've witnessed murders, will take longer to heal. 3 5-year-old boys, wooden guns at the ready, proudly play out the only history they know. When we'd finished taping them, they turned serious, asking if the police here would try to kill them like the Serbs did. Kevin Tibbles, NBC News, Mulit, Albania.
That's nightly news for this Monday night. Don't forget Dateline tonight at 10, 9 Central. We'll have continuing coverage of Operation Allied Force throughout the evening on this NBC station and, of course, on MSNBC on cable and the Internet. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you again tomorrow night.